This video begins our discussion of arrays. And as an introduction, I want to point out the difference or the delineation that we make in MATLAB, or specifically in this particular class, CS1371, about vectors, arrays, and matrices. And so if I were to do a table where I had over here type, and then I had number of rows, columns, usage, and then some kind of memory map. So if I'm talking about vectors, vectors have one row and they can have some number of columns, C, and they're pretty much used for data storage. And in memory, if you remember, they look sort of like this. Just one dimension, and we put things in there. Arrays, a lot like vectors, except for they have two or more rows, some number of columns we call C, also used in general for data storage, but you can think about them as taking up multiple rows in memory. Now that might not actually be the physical case, but that's a good mental map of what's going on. And then if you go to matrices, once again, multiple rows. Actually, they could have one row, multiple columns, and you think about these in terms of matrix operations. So we're actually going to be using matrices in terms of matrix operations. But what do I mean by that? Well, we call them matrices when you do stuff like this, you know, the number of rows in one by the numbers of column in two, and then you're going to do some operation over here, and then you have number of rows, number of rows in one, columns in one, rows in two, columns in two, and then, you know, C1 has to equal R2, and then your resulting matrix has the dimensions R1 by C2. And so that's how you multiply them. But in general, that's what we're talking about when we refer to matrices. When we refer to arrays, we're talking about two-dimensional or more. We'll start off with two-dimensional data storage devices, or data storage arrangements, or data storage variables. And when we talk about vectors, we talk about one-dimensional, as in one row, multiple columns, data storage variables.